Hello and welcome back. Today I did some printing on my Gelli plate and I thought I would bring you along for the process. Today's video will be a bit chattier because I want to explain what my thought process was for each paper that I pulled. I wanted papers that had nice contrast to be able to layer with lighter pieces and over bolder elements in my collage pieces. So I'm using lots of dark phthalo blue and black in these papers. I'm using regular tissue paper for all of these pulls, as well as oversized and 8.5 by 11 printer paper, so nothing fancy. Creating art like this doesn't have to be costly, it doesn't have to be expensive, which is what I love about collaged mixed media art. And I wanted lots of transparent layers. I even decided to keep a lot of the roll-off sheets because they created some nice patterns themselves. So we'll start with this bubble wrap. I had got something in the mail and it came with this lovely tiny bubble wrap where you usually get the bigger, like the medium-sized bubble wrap when you order something. And at first I was just going for getting the paint off the Gelli plate to stamp it onto the tissue paper, and I didn't think I would get anything great on the Gelli plate itself. And I was really excited about the tiny dots on the tissue paper and how transparent that would be going, like layering over something else. And I just kept rolling more paint off of the Gelli plate so that the dots would get lighter and lighter as I moved to a fresh sheet of tissue paper. And you'll see that more and more paint is being taken off the Gelli plate as I am pulling the bubble wrap off the Gelli plate. And you'll see that eventually I will just take more and more paint off of the Gelli plate. It's starting to come off on the roller a little bit, which happens when you let it get a little too dry. So I added a bit more. I wanted lots of this nice blue dot for a project that I have coming up. You'll see I'm drying it now a little bit. Just trying to get more of the paint off with the bubble wrap. It's starting to pull a lot more of it off, creating the negative of the pattern that I've made on the tissue paper to the right. Next, I'll dry that a little bit with my dryer. And I like to use the Liquitex Basics acrylics because they have the cleanest pull when you're pulling stuff off the Gelli plate. I do use some cheaper paint sometimes in my collage pieces, but when I'm Gelli plate printing, I only use Liquitex Basics paints because they pull the color off the best. Otherwise it's kind of greasy and it doesn't pull very nicely. So you see I'm just rolling out the white I'm using the whites because I'm going to put a piece of oversized printer paper on there that's white anyways, and so you won't see that white background when the pull comes off. And you'll see this created a really nice pattern when I was rolling the roller off. So I grabbed another fresh sheet of paper, just plain printer paper, to roll off onto because it made a really cool pattern that I'll be able to use in collages as well. This one is a bit lighter, so I kind of did it all over the place. And I had some time while I was waiting for that jelly plate to dry. Those will be fantastic. So I've let it dry for a little while and now I'm pulling it off, and you'll see the lovely inverse pattern of the there it is, the inverse pattern of the bubble wrap, which will be fabulous for a project that I have coming up. So I've cleaned my plate off, and now I'm going to do a little bit of black. Get it all rolled out, and these stencils I designed and printed on my Cricut. So I've just got some tissue paper on top and I'm really rubbing it in to get in all of the little crevices of that stencil so that I pull a nice clean design off. I don't like to use a roller because it just doesn't get in the crevices as well as your finger does. So you'll see this lovely fan pattern. It's nice and dark and crisp. And then I'm actually going to take that stencil off and put it directly onto the tissue paper. Which has given sort of like a crackled pattern. Looks a bit like it's been printed onto brick. And then I'm going to pull that off as well. So now I'm rolling out a little bit more of that black. And I'm essentially going to do the same process with a different stencil. This one's a pretty floral design. And again, using my fingertips to get in all the crevices. And I'll do the same process as I did with the other stencil with this one, where I now will pull off the stencil and place it directly onto the tissue paper. And you'll get the inverse design. And I'll take this print off too. Now I've got some green that I mixed up. I love this color of green, and I love this leaf stencil that I created It makes some wonderful tissue prints that layer so nicely. I used the same leaf pattern on the A5 journal inserts that I created recently. It's just a couple videos back, but I'll link it as well in the description for you, so you can see how this leaf paper is used on a project. And the roll-off sheets for this too I really liked, so I ended up keeping them. This lovely crackled green with some lines through. So that's the first print. And I'll do the same thing, putting the stencil directly on. This was actually my favorite way to use this stencil in particular. It's not actually the pull that you get through the stencil or after the stencil, it's the inverse print that you get from the stencil that I like the most. And then I'm gonna let this dry a little bit. I like the crackle on the jelly plate and how it kind of looks like marble. So I'm gonna grab my white Liquitex paint again to pull this crackle off, the marbling. So I'm just making sure it's good and stuck down so that it pulls off all of that nice crackle, and you'll see how wonderful that is when I pull that off. So even the things that you don't try for can end up looking the best. So I'll just let you take a look at the final papers there. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. It would mean so much for me to have you a part of my little community. I'll leave a link for my free 10-page printable collage paper pack below in case you'd like to create your own collage pieces. And there will be links to the products they used in this video as well. So thank you for watching.